What's good, Wizards fans, and welcome to part 2 of our episode with Wizards Mafia. We're going to talk about the young core and then preview the Wizards versus Dallas Mavericks game for Thursday night. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Wizards podcast. It's your host, the Royal Ed Oliver, my guy Brandon Scott, back with part 2 with our guy Wizards Mafia from State of the Wizards. We just want to thank you guys for listening, and make sure you guys check out LinkedIn. This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. All right, so the hot commodity, of course, is the young guys, the young core, Tommy Shepard's draft picks from the past couple of years. Which guy? What do you think about Tommy Shepard's drafting so far, and what have you thought about the young guys? We can break them. You can break them down one by one. Which has impressed you the most so far? And Johnny Davis is in the G League. He did have he had a better showing in the G League the past 2 games, so that's good to hear. But what are your thoughts about the past 3 years of drafting, and which player has stood out to you the most?
Well, I like Rui, obviously. I think that his draft picks have been C average. You know, these guys, in my opinion, they have the ceiling. Like, they have so much potential to be much better than they have been. But I attribute this also to the culture and the organization. When these guys go out there and they perform, they're doing what's asked of them. And I don't think that the Wizards, they put certain criterias on guys. And I think that, they have rules for, I don't want to say rules, but, they have like, how they get better, basically like production sheets, like, are they getting better at this? Are they getting better at that? Are they improving, right? So, in my opinion, I think for each player, I think for Rui, for Deni, for Kispert, they have to live up to that in order to then gain more minutes, get the trust from the coaching staff. And, that's a job within itself when you have to meet those type of conditions. Right. So you're not just going out there free willing playing basketball and enjoying the game. You're trying to do things that the coaching staff is asking you to do. That's what you're focused on. And I just think that, that's more of a detriment to these guys personally. But I'm also wondering, why did Tommy Shepard draft these guys? Did he see something in each one of these players like I see them, like you see them? Or does he think that these guys are just role players? Because you drafted them and then you brought in guys to play in front of them. So it doesn't make any sense. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, you got Wes Unseld Jr., he kind of tells you what he thinks about him with having, Anthony Gill. And I like Anthony Gill. I call him the Nick Collison of the Wizards of the Thunder. But having Anthony Gill start over your young guys is definitely questionable. It's an eye opener. It's kind of like, what do you really think about the past 3 guys that you drafted that you're going to start Anthony Gill over? Now they did start Corey Kispert just because of Bradley Beal being out. Bradley and Corey did a good job. I think they've all shown flashes at points. Rui's good at the mid range. Deni's become a defensive specialist out of nowhere from last year. Johnny Davis is a work in progress. We got to see what's going to happen with him. But yeah, like you said, I think they all are average guys, and none of them have shown like elite all-star potential.
Right.
And it's kind of like, the development process, Deni, they're trying to make him into a 3-and-D wing. That's just not his thing. He's more of a ball handler. You saw the way he played in Israel. Of course, Eurobasket is not going to always translate to the NBA, but that's just where he's better suited to handle the ball, bring the ball up, some from here and there, and be that guy, a playmaker. That's where he's best suited at. And I just don't see that being implemented on the Wizards, and I don't see a lot of opportunities for him doing that. And he's not a great 3-point shooter. He's struggling to shoot from the 3 right now. That's kind of the role they want him to be, is a defensive stopper and a 3-point shooter. And then Rui, he's trying to get it where he can. And then Corey, he's just been in and out of the lineup this year with injuries. His 3-point shooting is coming along. He's still a little short and flat. And then Johnny Davis, they try to play him at point guard when he's not a point guard. So it's just questionable developmental, kind of like what you said. They have their own type of developmental process where they want them to fill out their sheet of, or I guess like checkbox marks of where they want them to develop at, instead of, kind of looking at what their strengths are, where they drafted these guys. What's Johnny really good at? What is he best at? But we're going to try to make him uncomfortable and play point guard. So it's just the developmental process is definitely interesting from Tommy Sheppard and Wes. So it's just, what is their identity with drafting? So it's been very questionable from Tommy Sheppard to start. I think his trading has been good, but what are you really looking for in your draft picks? Are you looking for them to come in and contribute or be bench rotational players?
Right. Do you see more in these guys, or do you think that what they're doing is acceptable? Like, because there's a lot of people that's like, this is unacceptable. One of these guys should have at least, unlocked some amazing potential by now, right? So we should have at least seen that even, but we haven't seen it. And I just think that, this is called Locked On Wizards, right? So where's the unlocked on Wizards for some of these guys? Can we unlock, some star, potential out of one of these guys? And I think that's predicated off of what the coaching staff is expected of these guys, and maybe they don't expect them to be stars.
Yeah, well, that's the problem, though. I mean, when you're picking in the lottery, you're picking guys that you think have the capability of being a starter one day. I think his drafting is weak. It's terrible. Of course, you can go back and you can look at most drafts and say, we were in a position to get this guy and get this guy. You're always going to do that, but like you said, you hit the nail on the head. I would give it a C+. These guys are good role guys, but out of the 4 young guys, or really 5 if you had Gaff, even though he wasn't drafted. Out of those, other than Gaff, who did start a little bit the year he was traded here, who do you see is really being that long-term starter? I mean, Deni. Deni, he's shown the ability to defend at a high level, but his shot is, has he really gotten better? He worked on it in the offseason. I think, we mentioned before when FIBA was happening. There was a few injuries, including Deni and FIBA. And you notice the guys who played in FIBA, their performances have been kind of, outside of Jokic. Right. So you have to think about your investments. Our team's going to start limiting, their guys going over and playing FIBA or the Olympics. Because I got a lot of feedback where people are like, oh, what about the Olympics? Well, people forget the Olympics used to be college players, and most baseball, they were college players. There's a lot of sports they're not putting pro players in there because, as an owner, this is an investment. I don't know if I want this guy. Because if you look at it, Deni, he's not playing up to his standards. You look at Rui, he's played well. He is definitely a 3-level scorer in this league. Is he going to be 3-and-D? No, he's just not. Now his defense has improved, but he's not a 3-and-D. Corey Kispert, he has to get some more lift on that shot. Last season when he came in, his shot release was on the slow side, so he kind of pick up the speed of the NBA game but he picked it up faster, and this is and it shows his basketball IQ coming from a program like Gonzaga. He has that basketball IQ, so he was able to kind of, get going a little faster. And then Johnny, yeah, he's been very underwhelming, but I still like his intangibles. It's noticeable that the NBA game is faster. It shows. He's not blown by guys like he was at Wisconsin. And it shows. He's just, so I think if he can get consistent playing time in the go-go and show some progress and really work on the middle side of the game and get that confidence, I think we will see some signs from Johnny Davis being a better player.
And look, I like what Johnny Davis was bringing to the table coming into the league. I mean, when you look at a guy like that, you see the potential. It's just whether or not it translates to the next level. And you're saying to yourself, okay, if we can get that Johnny on this team, oh, we would, we would be a problem. But it's all about whether or not it translates. And it goes back to, look at the guys that's already been drafted here in front of Johnny, right? These guys, it's just a slow process. And if there was proof that, we can unlock, the greatness in some of these young players, we probably would have saw that out of Johnny.
Right. Yeah. I think, Johnny Davis. One thing I was going to say, too, was, Jordan Goodwin played well. And Jordan Goodwin looking ready, contributing and playing just as good as our first-round picks. Could you look at that as a positive, or is it an indictment that Jordan Goodwin has outplayed some of our young guys already? It's only been 2 games. But, I know I see that circulating around saying that, oh, why is Jordan Goodwin coming in looking so much better than Johnny Davis? But you got to think about it this way, too, that Jordan Goodwin is 24 years old. Johnny Davis is 20. He's still young. I think it's really a confidence thing with Johnny. It's a huge confidence thing. We're going to get a quick word in from LinkedIn, and then we're going to get back into the young core. But before we do that, this episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. In these days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. Trust me, when I was looking for a job, I was on LinkedIn every day, and it helped out a lot. It's very easy to use. You can use the app, use it on your computer. It's very simple, very easy to use. But if you're looking for candidates, this is how you do it. You add your job and the purple #hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. It's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Also, thanks for making Locked On Wizards your first listen today. For your second listen today, check out Locked On Sports Today. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports Today, available on this app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. And once again, the Wizards, they said they're looking for that diamond in the rough. They also got a guy in Quentin Jackson that looked like he may be just as ready as their first-round picks, or even more ready. So it's just a weird science. Maybe the guy that you overlooked is better than some of the guys that you already had.
Absolutely. And Quentin Jackson, what he showed in the summer league, I was saying right then and there, he's already better than Johnny Davis. And the reason why I said that is because you can see the energy. You can see when the energy is matching the flow of the game. Johnny right now, the speed of the game is much faster than what he's moving at. And when it's evident like that, that's how you know he's not ready.
Yeah, I agree. But I think one issue I have with how they kind of run, I'm trying to think of the word, man.
Scouting or development.
Developing. Yeah, developing. That we're, developing these guys. We've historically, man, I'm not talking. We have historically been really bad at developing players. I'm gonna go all the way back, man. Kwame Brown. Okay, I know he's a punchline to people, but think about it, man. If he played for the Wizards when Michael Jordan was here, we know how Mike rolls. He was trying to turn his team into a playoff team, and it just, it wasn't working, man. So he didn't have that time to kind of, to reach that potential. Because I think that if they would have worked with Kwame the way they should have, he could have easily been a 20-10 guy. He had that potential. There's a reason why, the intangibles were there for Kwame. You can go to, down the list of guys. The drafting has just been weak. Well, Jan Vesely, my God. I mean, come on, man. Like I said, Bradley Beal, John Wall, those are obvious picks. I like Otto Porter. I'm a Hoya guy. Mm-hmm. Was he worth where he was drafted? I don't think so. We sure, we paid him like he was, but So, we have to get better at developing players. I think, you can look at Quentin Jackson and Jordan Goodwin and say, we developed them. We did. The Go-Go, if you look at the Capital City Go-Go last season, this was a good team, and if you look at COVID-19, when they hit the team, a lot of these guys were able to come up and really play some significant minutes. And Jordan Shackle is another guy. He's a shooter. I think he needs to add a little weight, but he's a shooter. Isaiah Todd, he's got a lot of potential. Now he's got a lot of work to do, but the potential's there. Vernon Carey, look, Summer League, Vernon Carey was rocking. I mean, he showed the ability to have a mid-range shot in the rebound and have a little dog to him. So they're getting better in developing players, because we've been terrible at developing players. So,
I think if you put Kwame, like if Kwame went to the G League, if they had the G League back then, I think you would have saw a little better Kwame, no doubt. Maybe I don't know, maybe we're too hard on some of the younger guys for that very reason, if we give these guys a little bit more time. But truth be told is we're so used to young guys not panning out that I think we have that short clock for a reason, because we're just used to it. It's something we've grown accustomed to. And so if we don't see it in 3, if we don't see it in 2, we don't see it the first year, then we're like, okay, it's time to move on already. And, I don't know, maybe you guys have a different perspective with that.
No, yeah, I mean, you can go ahead.
My bad. No, I was just going to say that I think the problem lies is, you see this with football. I'm a Commanders fan, so you see there's a lot of Commanders. Drafting guys or acquiring guys, not so much on the system. If you're drafting guys for the system, you're utilizing their best assets. Expecting Deni to come in and be a 3-and-D when he's never been a 3-and-D and just trying to create, trying to create these phantom positions. Bringing in it's just, we got to stop doing that. Johnny Davis is not a point guard. He's not. Why are we trying to create one? We try to get Bradley Beal to be more of a guy bringing up the ball, and he can do it, but Lord have mercy, if he could stop holding on to the ball for 15 seconds, 20 seconds of the clock, I'd appreciate it. We have to utilize guys for their best gifts. Utilize Deni for what he is. He's a defensive stopper. I think it's a good thing to be in, to where he's not expected to carry a lot of the burden offensively. So he can, you can have these offshoot nights and we can still be successful because his defense is shining. If you look at Rui, I think on a personal level going forward, he's got to get better on defense. He's got to, because, he often than not, on the offensive end, he's a black hole. Most of the time, if you're dishing the ball to him in the paint, he's going to shoot the ball. And I think you heard a podcast last time, because we said something about it in the last game. He was shooting, he was passing it out. So I think he's listening. But like you said earlier, stop drafting. You have to draft for the system. Draft guys who can fit your system and come in and contribute right away. Stop trying to bring a guy in based on potential and say,
change him, and
I mean, Johnny Davis is not a point guard. I mean, he's a better point guard than an actor, but he's not a point guard. So, that's my take on it. Draft and acquire for the system, not for what you want them to be. You know what I mean?
Now, what I will say real quick is that, as Rui starts to progress and West starts to give him more minutes, I think his shot attempts need to increase along with his minutes. I think that's how you see real growth. Give these guys, more minutes, give them more attempts at the basket. If Deni's improving ball handling, assisting, put him in more spots where he's able to do that for you, so you can see if I'm giving him more opportunity to do it throughout the game, then just maybe we can unlock what we're asking for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we saw Deni against Charlotte, where he just said, "Forget it. I'm gonna just take the ball to the court and dunk it." And I love that from him. That's where he's at his best, just getting the rebound and going, not thinking too much. The thing is, he gets in his head a little too much, and that's where he gets in the slump. Right now, he's shooting 25% from the 3-point line, so he's actually gotten worse from the 3-point line. So that's just not his thing. His thing is getting to the basket and getting guys open shots. Rui, I actually want him to shoot him more. Right now, he's tied with Benedict Mathurin for the most double-digit scoring games off the bench this year. So he could mess around and be a 6th man of the year candidate if he keeps it up. And I love him being aggressive. I love when he yells at people. I love when he gets mean, and you love it when he gets angry because, like you said, we have too many nice guys. And I think the Wizards have drafted a lot of nice guys. We haven't drafted a lot of mean guys or physical guys. We are more of a finesse team. So I do want us to find an identity in the draft. I know we tried to find a shooter in Corey Kispert. I thought he's had some good moments here and there. He's still working on, he'll probably never be a defensive stopper kind of guy. That's not his calling. Yeah. But yeah, I do think we need to draft more athletics. I think Quentin Jackson's that kind of guy. And then with Johnny, his thing is confidence, like I brought up before too. Now you said if Kwame went to the G League, I know the media would have just killed us if we would have sent him to the G League. But with the thing with Johnny, I was saying when I saw him playing I think from the first game, I was like, hey, this young man needs to go to the G League. And a lot of people were killing him for it or saying it's such a bad thing. And I was kind of like, I think it's a good thing for him. I know it's not, you don't want to draft somebody at pick 10 and be like, oh, they need to go to the G League.
Not ideal.
It's not ideal. But for him, I was like, hey, let's slow this thing down for him. Let's get his confidence back where he can take all the shots he wants because he's playing behind Brad. He's playing behind Kispert. You're just not going to get the opportunities that you got at Wisconsin where you shot the ball every time you had it. So in the G League, you're going to get more opportunities like that. So I'm actually happy that Johnny's in the G League, taking his thing slowly and doing it right now. Because the Wizards have drafted somebody else that might have been ready to play. Hey, we can debate that all you want, but I think right now I still have some optimism for Johnny Davis. But like I said, as a whole Tommy Shepard right now, he just hasn't hit a home run yet, and the Wizards need it bad because we're not going to attract a free agent. We're not going to trade for a big free agent, or we're not going to trade for anybody. We had our name in the hat for SGA, DeJounte Murray, trading up for Jaden Ivey, even the Kevin Durant rumor, all that stuff. Donovan Mitchell. You can look at all those reports and kind of just really throw them out the window because if you're a Wizards fan for years and follow this team, you just know that stuff just doesn't happen. So they have to really hit on their draft picks.
And that's another thing, right? So, I see people, on social media all the time. They say, well, these guys aren't it. But then when DeJounte Murray's name come up in a trade, all of a sudden they're it. They're good enough to trade, right? So how does that make sense? That doesn't make any sense. So now all of a sudden these guys are valuable to you because you see that DeJounte Murray or Donovan Mitchell or even KD. It was crazy to me to see all the trades that was put together for a package for KD because I was thinking like you were the same person yesterday who said that this guy is no good. So how is he good enough to trade for KD? I mean, to me, it's funny, man.
Yeah, it is funny because I think they kind of overvalue their guys, the young guys. I mean, because how many teams do you see are trying to knock on the door to get any of the young guys? Let's be real. Now, I mean, really, you can see would get some attention. Last year, the year before, Miami's been that team always linked to Rui. And I think I hate to say he'd be a good fit on there, but Rui, I think he gets some interest. But Corey Kispert, I think he still has ways to go. He's got the shot, and the shot still has to get better because he's just getting back. Deni, man, defensive stoppers can get opportunities in this league, but with how the NBA is now, it is a perimeter centric league. Even your fives now have to shoot behind the arc. Patrick Ewing ain't in the league no more. KP, he's a center that sit back there and shoot behind the arc. It's a perimeter game now. So you have to evolve or die. That's just, that's the metaphor. Obviously I don't want nothing to happen to it, but you have to evolve, man. You got to evolve. So yeah, the drafting is just, man, I think they overvalue their guys. But again, they're calling them, man. I mean, you got to be ready to, send 1 or 2 or maybe 3 of them guys out. Hold on to them. If you're serious about contending, you got to get, look, to contend, you have to get rid of assets and young players. That's just the name of the game. You can't try to contend and still try to bring young guys along. It doesn't add up because, like you mentioned earlier, it's like trying to make a flower bed and then pour concrete on top of it. There's no growth. You know what I'm saying? There's no growth. You can't draft a guy to be a 2 guard and then he's going to sit behind Bradley Beal for 3-4 years. How's he going to develop? They have to find an identity. Are you ready to contend? Because if you're ready to contend, you got to say bye-bye to at least 2 to 3 of these young guys. Easy.
And,
it may be a veteran.
And then on top of that, you're demoting guys. You're giving them the start, and then you're demoting them. Like, what type of message are you sending when you do things like that? It's very discouraging, and it's a confidence killer. You would think that they're trying to do everything that they can to build confidence in these guys. But to me, I would love to sit Tommy down and just ask him, Tommy, when you drafted these guys, what did you see? And I mean, I don't know about you, but I would be very, very intrigued to hear what his answer is, because if he's saying, hey, Decan, I knew these guys were going to be role players, then at least I'm like, okay, now it makes sense. But I don't think he would ever admit that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't think we would ever get that answer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he likes when they can draw up a play for him. That's one of his big things. You can draw up a play for him and show him the ropes.
Yeah.
And character is a big thing too, which should be for everybody. So, but yeah, it's kind of like they're missing a 3-and-D guy that they desperately need, and they're missing athleticism, and they do need more dogs, which is what they're missing too. So it's been some question marks with his drafting, and we just had to see it. And he's got to make decisions too. It's like, you got to pay Rui this upcoming year. Are you going to pay him or not? Are you going to pay Kuz? Are you going to pay Porzingis? So, it's big decisions you got to make. And Will Barton's a free agent. So are you going to keep some of these guys? Or are you going to try to get value for them before the trade deadline? So it kind of makes a clunky mess that we got here too. Guys fighting for minutes like Rui, Kuz. They're kind of fighting for that. I mean, I'm sorry, Rui and Kuz are fighting for minutes together. And Deni's, he's got his 3 spot, but Corey Kispert's got to fight for minutes too. So we kind of got guys that are kind of similar, as a lot of people say, that they're kind of like 8th men rotational guys. Nobody really stands out. So do they need to make a consolidation trade, which I think would help, so guys can figure out and actually have a real role and not worry about getting pulled out the game if they make a mistake. So Rui can get more than just 20 minutes a game, or Deni can just get more than just 20 to 25 minutes a game.
Agreed. And last season, he did the exact same thing. You had guys under contract. They was playing in the contract year. You had Montrezl Harrell that was in the contract year.
Mm-hmm.
You had Dinwiddie who was trying to hit that bonus. Let me play as many games as I can so I can get that bonus. So I mean, I don't know what the goal is. I don't know if it's to get these guys to fight, as much as they can, to try to get paid. I don't know if that's the goal. But to me, it creates a selfish culture. You have guys that they know they're coming up on a contract extension. Kuz gonna be out there chucking about 20 times a game.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, give me the rock, give me the ball. And I think that was a part of why they did demote Deni. That's just my theory anyway, because, but, that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. But at the end of the day, man, it's what they create. It's their team. This is what Tommy wants. So if they, if this is their formula for success, then maybe we deserve to be the play-in team that we know that we're going to be, because we're not going to be any better than this. So,
yeah, I agree. I mean, this team's in the need of an identity crisis right now. They need to figure out what their identity is going forward. So we're going to move on. Next question is, this is the 25th anniversary of the rebrand from the Washington Bullets to the Washington Wizards. So you've got Gilbert Arenas, John Wall, and Bradley Beal in their prime. Who do you build around? If you're going to build a franchise around one of these guys, who would you build it around?
Oh, Wall all day.
That was fast, man.
Wall all day. Give me Wall, man. Give me Wall. I mean, I love Gilbert, and I respect Bradley Beal's game, but it's something about John Wall that I feel like if you put the right pieces around him when he was in his prime, then we could have made some serious noise. Imagine if we had Paul George. Imagine if we had Paul George in 2017. I mean, we get past Do we not get past Boston in the 7th game? I think we get past Boston.
Absolutely.
I think we at least make the playoffs, consistently, over the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
So,
I think a hand injury away too. Honestly, when John broke his hand in that one series, that's a series we should have won as well. I think anyway we should have won that Boston series. John just ran out of gas in that game 7. But Paul George, and that year too, we were giving LeBron and the Cavs some go too. So I want to say we won that regular season series if I'm not mistaken. So no, 100%. I mean, John Wall away. I mean, this guy put the city on his back for a good straight 5 years, more than that. 5-time All-Star, Wall Star.
Yeah, man, y'all took my guy, man. So I got to be different. So let's roll with Agent Zero, man. I mean, look, you can argue there was about a couple seasons where he was the best player in the league. I mean, he was at his ceiling, man. He was hitting shots that were like, wow. I mean, he was. I think Gil. I don't think he was as much as a distributor as John was, because John was just a wizard, no pun intended, with the ball. As fine as those open guys, he was just incredible. The speed, driving the lane. But Gil had that. Gil had the speed. He can score whenever he wanted. Just, I would roll with Agent Zero. That was my dude.
Oh, yeah, so. I said Gilbert last time. But I love John, but I'm going with Gilbert too, just because his clutchness. And John was clutch too, but especially when John stood on the bench after that Boston game 6. But I'm going with Gilbert too.
I'm gonna say this: if John had Gilbert's shot, this wouldn't even be. This would be like a no-brainer. But Gilbert definitely is more clutch than John. Gilbert was more of a consistent offensive player than John. But it's just something about him, man. I don't know. I just feel like he brought butts in the seats, man.
Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely. So before we roll, I'm gonna throw a little extension to the question. So if the knee injury never happened, but they were still in the position to draft John Wall number 1, how successful do you think a backcourt with John Wall and Gilbert Arenas would have been with both of them at a high level?
Ooh, what a great question. I think that they probably could have won 50 games. You said if the knee injury didn't happen, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So if we're getting prime Gilbert, prime Wall, like a young John Wall, I say 50 games in the Eastern Conference. You had Miami they was running things in the East, but there wasn't really any real comp. So if you had Gilbert and Agent Zero healthy, and then eventually you would have added Nene and some of those other pieces, that was a 50-win team easy.
Absolutely. I figured I'd throw that in there because there was man, towards the end of Gil being in DC, seeing him and John Wall on the court, man, it was always that small party. It was like, man, I would have loved to see that backcourt. It would have been crazy scoring backcourt. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up tonight.
Oh yeah, just get before we do wrap it up, your keys to victory to Dallas tomorrow. We got a couple former Wizards coming back. Somewhat of a rivalry too. Porzingis revenge game against Dallas too. What's your keys to victory score prediction?
My keys to victory, I think that, first of all, we need to get out and run with these guys. I think we need to get those fast break points up. We also need to get that assist number up. And we also need to bring the turnovers down. So if there's any way we can bring the turnovers down, the assist number up, we already know that we're not a good 3-point shooting team. So attack the basket, and make sure you're not out there overthinking. Just go play the game. Do what Jordan Goodwin's doing. And you said prediction?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the win tomorrow.
Okay.
Oh, Thursday. Is it Thursday? Is it tomorrow?
Thursday, yeah.
Thursday.
So I'm gonna go with the Wizards. I'm gonna go 115-110 Wizards.
Okay. I just don't let Dinwiddie get over 10 to 15 points. Don't double Luka because we are terrible at double team. I don't want to see that. Porzingis get his revenge game, and just don't shoot a lot of threes for one. Rebounding the ball is going to be huge for one, and let's push the pace. And I want to see Jordan Goodwin keep it up. I got us winning too.
Yeah, the keys of victory. I think team basketball, moving the ball. No ISO. Be more fluid with distributing the ball. Find the open shooters. Defending the perimeter. Look, Luka, you can knock him down. Spencer did what he's not an ace, but he can hit it. You give him the shot. And, Bertans, I don't want to talk about Bertans, but, hate him or love him, he when he's hit him, he can hit him. So hit him on the perimeter, show out in the paint. I think we're bright. I got us winning 111-98, keeping them under 100.
Ooh,
yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So we actually do guard the perimeter that game.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Because right now they're listening. All right, so
listening.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So again, appreciate you coming on the show, man. Before we roll, anything you want to plug for everybody that didn't catch you the first time around?
Yes. Make sure you follow me at WizardsMafia, Wiz Takes on Twitter. Also, follow my main man, DC Hoopla, K-Jose on Twitter as well. And follow us at State of the Wizards on YouTube. Really appreciate you guys for inviting me on, and go Wizards.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All day. Thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast. Biggest stories today, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and the tick of the day. Available on Odyssey app, YouTube, wherever you get podcasts. Again, appreciate coming on, man. Spend time with us, talking some basketball. Again, check out me and my dude, The Real Ed Oliver, on Twitter and Instagram. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Appreciate everybody tuning in, and have a good night, and peace.